Well, friends, it's March 22nd. Thank you so much for joining me. Robert Imbriali here, and I've been a long-time coach. I've been coaching people since 1995, also a marketing expert and all-around guy who's very passionate about what's going on in our society right now, and I like to help my clients, my customers, my friends, my family understand what's going on so that they can navigate these rather amazing times we're living through. I mean, it started, March 20th here in California marks exactly 1 year that we were shut down. And on March 20th, they finally lowered us one tier. We were always in the most restrictive tier, and on the exact anniversary, they brought us down one little tier. Oh, how happy we should be, right? So we've been shut down for a full year. When they said it was just 2 weeks to slow the spread or flatten the curve, right? Remember that? And a year later, and things have just gone off the rails and continue. And I don't see any end in sight, and I don't think anybody does at this point. But I didn't want to come here to share with you all the bad news. We're kind of aware of it. We've been paying attention to it. If you watch media that is not mainstream media, you're getting a more well-rounded picture of what's been going on and what continues to go on and how it's impacting all of us. We might say things like, the crisis at the border. That's down there. That really doesn't impact us. But the truth of the matter is, it's not at the border. They're busing these people all over the country. So all of our cities are being impacted by it. And it impacts all of us. It impacts our economy. It impacts our health system, our healthcare system. It impacts our educational system. So it's one of these things that, for a long time, I didn't really care about politics all that much. I was agnostic, like probably most of the country. Rarely, in presidential elections, did you ever get more than 30% of the country voting, right? Because we didn't care. It didn't really matter. What they did up there in Washington is so far away, and I would advise my clients to do that. It didn't matter. Whatever they did, they did. It's not really going to impact you. Things have changed. Everything that's happening now is impacting us in one way or another. You can look at the gas pump and you can see your gas is probably up close to $1. It's a little bit more, up more than $1 here since January, $1 per gallon. Put 16 gallons in your car when you fill up and you're up almost $20 a tank. That's significant. That's money for people, right? And you look at it and you say, I don't care, but you got to care because it's impacting all of us. Now, one of the things that happened, one of my friends today was really upset that it was the first time she had been censored on Facebook, and she was just screaming up a storm about it. And I said to her, I reminded her, I said, Facebook only exists. Twitter only exists, right? Google or YouTube only exists because it has users. Once we start leaving, it no longer exists. Look at MySpace, look at Friendster, right? What happened to those systems? Did they just die because, they didn't want to be in business anymore? No, they died because everyone left. They found something better. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I think Facebook is, they got really powerful, and I think they're dying now, and, they're no longer growing. They're no longer doing this. I think it's either flat or it's actually descending as more and more people getting sick and tired of having their content censored, and I'm one of them. I've got a lot of content censored there as well. And we don't have to. We don't have to play that game. What's really interesting is I'm on Gab and I'm on other social media platforms like Telegram, and I have an account with Parler, but I don't think Parler's done anything. I think it's pretty flat over there. But I'm exploring all these other websites because I know one of them is going to take the place of Facebook. I know one of them is going to take and replace Twitter as people move off of it. The question I have is we don't know which one. But what I want to share with you today is that we have a lot more power maybe than we give ourselves credit for. So it's easy to look at these things and say, man, this Facebook is so big. But 10 years ago, was it really that big? What made it big? All of us. All the users coming on board and signing up and spending time and spending money advertising on that service made it big. If we stop doing that, it dies. Honestly, it's really interesting. If you think about it this way, if you say everybody in the world who uses Facebook closes their account. Well, we pick a day and we say everyone's going to close their Facebook account on this day. What is Facebook? Without us, it's just a bunch of servers, right? There's nothing, absolutely nothing without the users. Without the user base, there's no advertising. With no advertising, there's no revenue. Without the users, there's nobody sharing, nobody's on the website, nobody's going to advertise. So we have to recognize that we have a lot more power than we may give ourselves credit for a lot of times. I know it's easy to look at this and go, oh my God, it's so crazy, it's so big, it's so powerful, but it's not. It looks a lot more powerful than it is. And what I remind my friends, my family, clients, is that there are more of us who see all of this and are not happy about any of it. But our voices are muted right now because we can't get them out on social media. If you could, you'd hear a lot more of us talking. And what happens is when you mute one or two of the big guys, a lot of the other people underneath go, well, I don't want to be muted, so they don't say anything. They self-censor. This happens to everybody. We self-censor. We think twice before posting on social media because we don't want to be censored. And what happens is we think that there are very few people like us out there, when in fact there are quite a few. Actually, the largest part of the population is like thinking the way we do. Now, the other side appears really big because the media is amplifying their voice. The media is amplifying their voice. So again, like social media, don't give your attention to mainstream media. You're seeing CNN right now is tanking in the ratings. People are moving away from it because they're tired of being lied to. Right? MSNBC, same thing. I mean, they've got less than 1 million people watching that station. Why do you even have a station? Why do you even have a network if you've got less than 1 million viewers a night? I mean, it's crazy how small the audiences have become. So these things will go away eventually when we stop paying attention to them. You can't sell advertising on CNN if you have no viewership. You can't sell advertising on Facebook if nobody's using Facebook. And this is where it's going to come. A lot of us are going to start doing that as we find other platforms to replace it. There really hasn't been a strong contender yet, but there will be. Maybe these websites, these other websites, the Gab, the Minds.com, and all these other ones that are out there right now kind of making it happen. And a lot of us are kind of confused and like, okay, you know, Facebook's a habit more than it is anything. You know, I broke the habit for myself and I said, I'm not going to spend more than 10 minutes a day on Facebook. I have some clients and some stuff I have to do there, but I'm not going to spend more than 10 minutes a day on Facebook. And I thought it would be really hard because I was spending a lot more time than that, but it really wasn't. You know, a day or two into it, it was like, I didn't even think about Facebook anymore. And now it's like, oh, do I have to go on Facebook? I really hate it now, right? And I think a lot of us will do that if we're willing to break the habit and find new habits and use new sites. Right now I'm using LinkedIn a lot. I'm spending a lot more time there and the conversations are robust but not disrespectful, which is really nice. And, you know, Gab is another one. I'm collecting a lot of followers there. I'm putting my stuff up on rumble.com rather than YouTube. YouTube, my videos are basically shadow banned. You know, I put them up there and I get one viewer. Well, the one viewer was me checking to make sure the video is working. That's it. They don't go anywhere. When I was getting hundreds and hundreds of views with every video that I was posting, and all of a sudden YouTube goes, yeah, we don't like your content, so there's no point to it, right? So why do you want to be in a place they don't like you? We don't like them either. If they don't like us, there's no point in helping them, right? There's absolutely no point to it. So what we need to do is need to figure out where we want to be. And I would suggest to you that you go out and find these other websites and have a look at these other social media sites. Remember, it's just a habit. At first you might look, oh, it's confusing, and then you start getting used to it, you play with it a few days, and then you start to like it because you're forming a new habit. And once you do, you're not going to go back to the old habit. And that's what scares Facebook more than anything, is that more and more of us are doing that. There's no point to being on Facebook. There's no point because what you're hearing and what you're seeing, the posts you're seeing are censored. This is the stuff they allow. This is the filter. They're only allowing these posts. But there's so much more to the rainbow. You know, they're only allowing the color blue. But you want to see the whole rainbow. You want to see everything, right? And you can't see it because they don't allow it. And you get this false narrative, this false idea that we are in the minority when we're not. We're actually in the majority. We're the bigger part of it. So you got to go out there and find these things. If you want to find me on Telegram, you certainly can. Just look me up by my name, and it's easy to find. You want to find me on Gab, same thing. You want to find me on Minds.com. You want to find me on, oh God, there's so many that I, you know, Cloud Hub. I've got accounts on all of them because I don't know yet which one I'm going to like the most, which one I'm going to put the time and effort into. Right now, LinkedIn seems to be the one that I'm spending the most time in because it is a more mature network. The other ones still have some bugs, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But that's just, you know, Twitter had those same bugs when it first got started. And you see, eventually they got them all worked out. So I think that's going to happen. It's probably going to happen sooner than later. I think a lot of people are really eager for a platform that really is social, where you can have an opinion and you can share it, because that's what socializing is. Socializing isn't, well, I have an opinion, but I know I'm not allowed to talk about it here, so I can't talk about it. Boy, that's a lot of fun, isn't it? Imagine going to a party and saying, yeah, you're going to talk politics, you can't talk about those here, and you get kicked out of the party. Well, would you go? You wouldn't go. Of course not. If even there was a threat of that, you wouldn't go. Well, that's what's happening on social media right now. They're shooting themselves in both feet. Yeah, it's crazy that they're doing that, but they're doing that. And as more and more people are getting impacted by it, by sharing posts or posting things that the powers that be don't like, they're watching them, their accounts get blocked and their content being removed, and it's pissing people off. Rightly, it should. It really should piss you off. If it doesn't piss you off, you're not paying attention. Because right now you might say, it's only those other guys that are getting their content banned. Haha, mine doesn't. Eventually it's going to be you too. Because where is that line? Where's the line where they say what's acceptable, what's not acceptable? Every week it seems like they're cutting it down, cutting it down, cutting it down, cutting it down even more. Eventually you're going to be able to talk about what you had for dinner, and that's about it. That's the only thing that's going to be acceptable. Crazy, but true. So I would encourage you to start exploring these other networks. I would encourage you to recognize that we've got a lot of power. There's nothing to fear here. If we all decided, we all banded together and said, listen, we're going to get off of this Facebook thing. We're just going to quit. We're going to close all our accounts. There's no point to it anymore. It dies. It dies. We are the water that keeps these things growing, right? And when you pull that away, what happens? You take the water away from the plant. Plant doesn't live very long, does it? 2-3 days and it's gone. Facebook would be the same thing. Twitter would be the same thing. YouTube would be the same thing. Google would be the same thing. They're only powerful because we give them power. And we can take that power back anytime we want because we're not forced to use them. No one's holding a gun to your head and saying, hey, you have to be on Facebook an hour a day. Nobody's saying that. You choose not to have it on your phone. I got rid of it because they track everything on your phone. They track things they shouldn't even track. They're being sued, by the way, because they're violating wiretapping laws, that they're tracking you even when you're not on Facebook. They're tracking everything that goes on your computer or on your phone. Get rid of the apps. Get rid of that. Get rid of Instagram. Get rid of Twitter. Get rid of any of the Google apps. Do a Google purge. Get rid of all your Google accounts if you don't want to be tracked. I don't want to be tracked anymore. I got tired of it. I don't know what they're doing with that information, but I don't really, want to have a file out there on me that I don't know anything about, and I don't know who has it. I don't know who's selling it. I don't know what it's being used for. Not really fun, right? That's not the way the internet really should be. So we can push back on this stuff, and this stuff will end when we start doing that. So think about it. Give it some thought. And then you may want to just, start by deleting the Facebook app off your phone. And then delete the Instagram app off your phone. Get rid of IGTV. Get rid of any Google apps you have on your phone. Just do a little bit at a time. Change habits. Find other apps that you could put on there that aren't tracking you all day and all night and everything you do, and tracking all of your friends and every website you visit, and then how long you're on the phone and who you're calling and where you're going. And they're tracking how much you exercise, how much you jog, what stores you shop at. It's crazy amount of tracking going on that it's behind the scenes. You don't even know about it. I don't think you want that, do you? I don't. I know a lot of people, if they knew about it, they're scared to death. They'll remove that immediately. When I tell my friends about what's going on with the Facebook app, right in front of me, they click on it, they hold it until they get the jiggle, and they click the X and they delete the app right there because they don't want that. That's not the game they want to play. So I want you to think about this for a moment. I want you to think about, reclaiming your power here. We have power. I have power. You have power. We all have power to do the things that are needed to be done to remove these networks, these powerful networks, media, social media, the corporate social media, and the mainstream media that are not operating in our best interest. They're operating against us. It's us against them now. And it should never be that. It should all be something that we work on together. That was the vision of these things, and it's not that anymore. It is clearly not that. It's us against them, and it's got to stop. And the only way it'll stop is when we pull away and we stop putting our attention, putting our money there, and it will go away. So I want to leave you with that. I want to leave you something to think about. And please send me your comments. Send me your ideas of what we can do. If you want to organize a day where we'll bail on Facebook, that would be fantastic. I'm all in on that. If that's what you want to do, let's do it. Let's make some noise, because we are the silent majority, but we don't have to be silent. We can still be the majority, and we can be loud about it, and our voices can get amplified, and they will be on these newer social media platforms and alternate media, mainstream media. There's a lot of alternate media now that just popped up. Newsmax is just the first one of the bigger ones, but there's Real America's Voice. There's always see it soon in social media as well. And that's when things will start to shift for us. I think things are going to shift for the better, and we'll get rid of all these evil companies that don't have our best interests in mind. All right. With that, I want to say thank you so much for watching. If this was valuable, please share it with your friends and followers. We need to get this message out. This is not about me. It's about us as a community. It is us coming together and doing something bigger than just you and I, and creating something that's going to be a lot more fun, a lot more safe, and a lot more enjoyable for all of us as we go forward. Thanks so much again. We'll talk soon.